Dear shareholders of Prismo Metals, I wish to welcome you to a new form of communication, which we call Prismo in the News. I'm Alain Lambert. I'm the executive chairman, and I'm a director and a co-founder of Prismo Metals. And I'm here with our president and CEO, Dr. Craig Gibson, and manager of communication, Jason Frame. We will use this format mainly to explain certain news releases. It's a way for us to help our investor better understand the news, and we start today following on this morning's news release, and Craig and I will both be answering the questions, and Jason will be our moderator. Over to you, Jason.
Thanks, Elaine, and welcome, gentlemen. Today, I'd like to focus on the news we just released about exploration at Palos Verdes. I'll also be asking you a few questions that, as the manager of communications, I know are top of mind for investors. The first question is for you, Craig. In today's news release, we announced that the company completed an alteration and geochem study over the Palos Verdes property, which was recommended by the Joint Technical Committee. I'd like to remind our viewers that the Joint Technical Committee is comprised of yourself, Vizsla Silver's VP Exploration, Dr. Jesus Velador, and Dr. Peter McGaugh. Could you please explain, Craig, the significance of the alteration study?
Yeah, thanks for the question, Jason. That's a good one. The main thing we're looking at here at Palos Verdes, if you look at the geologic map, there's two important structural features. One is the northeast trending Palos Verdes vein, which runs lengthwise through the concessions for about 750 meters. And the second is a north-northwest trending fault that crosses the vein. And based on geological features in the past, visual features in core, things like that, we determined that that fault, that northwest trending fault, probably offsets the Palos Verdes vein, with the northeast portion of the vein being dropped down relative to the southwest portion of the vein. And the alteration study basically identified minerals, clay minerals, micas in the rocks to the northeast of that northwest trending fault zone that indicate a very high level of formation in the vein system. So we think it probably helps us. It definitely helps us with evidence showing that the northeast portion of the Palos Verdes vein is downdropped, and that's very significant because the mineralized body that we've defined by drilling in the past ends along that northwest trending fault. And basically, there's two hypotheses. One, it was cut off by that fault. And the second one is that the mineralization could have just ended at that fault. And based on this study, we feel that that mineralization was probably cut off by that fault and was dropped downward. So it's at deeper elevation than you would expect based on the rest of the vein.
Great, Craig. And following on that, we also announced the results of a geochem sampling program focus on narrow and most strongly mineralized portions of the Palos Verdes vein, with some of the assay results including a sample of 930 grams per ton silver and 10.55 grams per ton gold at Palos Verdes, or 2,605 grams per ton AG equivalent. I believe this program was based on the direct experience Vizsla Silver had in the district. Can you explain to our viewers what are some of the lessons learned by Vizsla Silver in the southwest of the Panuco district and how they may apply to the Palos Verdes property? I'll also ask you to discuss the assay results after too, if you don't mind, Craig.
That's a very good question. It's interesting with Vizsla Silver coming into the district slightly after we drilled our first round of drilling there. And, basically, virtually all of their significant discoveries are on veins that, although they crop out, most of them crop out at the surface, they were not large producers in the past. These veins have small-scale workings locally on the surface. Some are actually completely blind at the surface. So Vizsla has found basically new mineralization in the district. And late last year, we had a technical committee, and Vizsla had just discovered what they call the Molino vein. And that vein was discovered, but at the surface, it's let's say a couple meter wide vein, mainly barren quartz, but with a very narrow, high-grade portion of the vein. And they found that sampling those very narrow portions of the vein where most of the interesting or the ore minerals that we call them are formed. They had several hundred grams per ton silver in those little narrow veins. Drilling underneath that, they hit up to a couple of meters of 1 to 2 kilo silver, and I think the highest assay was 3 kilos silver equivalent per ton. So they found that sampling at the surface, although the veins themselves over the full width of the quartz vein was not very interesting, the very narrow portions of the vein that had the strongest fluid flow did show interesting features, and drilling underneath them resulted in a discovery. Palos Verdes is very similar to some of the veins that Vizsla has there, particularly the Napoleon vein. Palos Verdes has no significant past production, just tunnels along narrow veins at the surface with some interesting high grades. And so we conducted, based on this work that done by Vizsla, we conducted a similar survey over the veins at Palos Verdes. And we found 2 zones with interesting, relatively high grade silver values at the surface, silver and gold. And one of them sits directly above the mineralized body that we defined by drilling in the past. So we knew that was there. That's pretty good. It confirmed that by the surface. Off to the northeast, we have a second zone with high-grade silver and gold values, and also locally lead and zinc at the surface. But there's no known ore shoot or mineralized body below that. And shallow drilling there has found some silver mineralization, but we feel we have to drill a little bit deeper under that, and we have the potential of finding a second mineralized body on the Palos Verdes vein.
I might want to add that, especially for those who are new to our company, that Vizsla Silver is a company that's in the Panuco district where Prismo is, with the Palos Verdes property. They've made some significant discoveries. I think they have $450 million market cap as of today. And they are the company that assembled, for the first time in its history, the prolific Panuco district. And their discoveries have been mainly to the southwest. Our property is at the northeast of the district. We are surrounded by 3 sides by Vizsla. They own about 10% of our company. And when they made that strategic investment a year ago, among other things, we created this technical committee that you mentioned, Jason and Craig. And one of the things that the committee was going to do is to get a better understanding of the entire district, bring all of the technical people together, and really share the information. And what Craig has just discussed is just one of the things that lessons learned, technical information developed by Vizsla in the district that has been applied on our property with this alteration and geochemical study that has taken place. Over to you, Jason.
Yeah, thanks, Elaine. Craig, I just want to touch on last year's drilling, where Prismo drilled 2,923 meters, drilled in 15 holes at Palos Verdes. Before we get into the drill assay results, can you explain, please, what the objectives of the drilling program were, where we drilled, and why, and what did this drilling program tell us?
Well, this last year's drill program followed 2 previous programs that were drilled on sites that were permitted early in the stage of exploration of the project. And this last year, we were very pleased to be able to drill under a new permit that allowed us to drill in areas that we didn't have access previously based on that original permit. And it filled some gaps in the drilling that we couldn't fill because of the drill sites and angles of drilling, and also allowed us to drill in areas off to the edges of the system. So we're defining the edges of the system and new areas. So we expect to have a number of holes that don't hit very good mineralization, which actually was the case. But this hole actually hit the highest grade mineralization that we have drilled up to date on the project. And it's something that we always felt we could hit. As I said previously, the Palos Verdes vein is very similar to the mineralization at Vizsla Napoleon vein. And we, early on, we had very high gold and silver values in this mineralized body. But then Vizsla came in shortly after and started drilling some holes and had up to 100 grams per ton gold and more, and multi-kilo silver in the vein. And we always thought we had pretty good potential for finding similar high-grade mineralization. And that was confirmed with this drill program. And, we had a great 102 grams per ton gold and 3 kilo silver over a half meter. So that was a very significant assay. And, just confirmed everything we thought about that mineralized body. The other thing we were able to do with this program was drill to the northeast of that fault I mentioned previously. And this mineralization we've determined is very high level at a very high structural level in the vein system. So we did have some interesting mineralization, 120 grams per ton silver in narrow intervals, but we think we're above another second mineralized shoot that was identified by that surface sampling program. So again, we had very good results overall, pushing the limits of the mineralized system above and to the southwest. So it's very good information that we have.
Thanks for those comments, Craig. And Elaine, I'm going to move over to you now. The next question is for you. And over the past couple of months, I have received a lot of questions from investors wanting to see the latest assay results. I know this is a topic you are passionate about, so I'd like to ask you the following. Why did we wait to get the results of the alteration and geochemical study to announce the last few holes at Palos Verdes?
Thank you very much, Jason. Yes, this is something I'm quite passionate about. So it is my view that in great part, retail investors have been conditioned to live or die by a good hole or a bad hole. When us at Prismo Metals, we look at things a little differently. And I'd like to point out figure number 1 in the press release that we issued today. And it's important for investors to keep in mind a couple things here. They can see in the middle, sort of a little bit to the west, the fault. And on the west side of the fault is most of the drilling that we have done to date. But as you can tell by figure number 1, it's a rather narrow property. So in order to drill further down, a little bit deeper on the west side of the fault, we're going to be stepping out onto Vizsla's property and drill deeper down. And I know that Craig's going to be talking about that here in a minute. The other thing is, which addresses your question directly, Jason, the second point, which is on the east side of the fault, we drilled a number of holes, and what we found were extremely narrow but highly mineralized veins. And then when you see that, the geologists, including Dr. Craig here, say, well, okay, there's evidence of mineralization. What happened with that fault. And where is the vein, as you mentioned, did it stop there? Is it displaced, and so on and so forth? So we all felt that in order to understand what the drilling was telling us at the time, it was better for us to do the alteration and chemical study, which we did. And we are releasing today the entirety of the drill holes and the alteration chemical studies together, and together that tells us what we think has happened, which is, as Craig said, that the vein has been displaced deeper down, and on that side of the fault, we're also going to step out into Vizsla's property and drill deeper down. So had we kept drilling there without that alteration geochemical study, we might have spent a whole lot of money trying to chase a vein that's actually deeper down. So when we sit down at Prismo Metals and we review all the information that's available, we always try to give meaningful information to our investors, and we feel strongly that what we are announcing today tells a compelling story as opposed to just a part of the story. So hopefully that answers the question, Jason.
Yeah, that's very helpful, and thank you for that. I'm going to go back to you, Craig. We have mentioned to our shareholders a few times, including today, that the next phase of exploration at Palos Verdes is deep drilling to be conducted from our strategic partner Vizsla Silver's ground to target the Palos Verdes vein at depth and to test the conclusion of the alteration and geochem study announced today. Can you please describe to our viewers what this next drilling campaign consists of?
Yeah, well, Lane just alluded to that, I think. And basically, as he mentioned, we've explored the strike into the vein at relatively shallow levels. I think it's important, if you look at what we do with drilling, if you have a vein like this and you're drilling across it, you want to get as close to perpendicular as you can when you drill across, especially a steep vein. And the steeper your angle of drilling, not only is you get less important, let's say, or factual information, but you also risk missing the vein due to small fluctuations in the orientation. And basically, with the drilling that we've done in the past at Palos Verdes, we're drilling up to the limit of our surface concession. And adjacent to that, of course, is our concessions owned by Vizsla Silver. And we're very pleased that they feel that it's worth drilling just as we do at greater depth. And they went to the effort to permit drill sites on their ground to drill the vein, not only in our ground, but potentially off onto their ground. So as Elaine said, they're a strategic partner. They have a first right of refusal on the Palos Verdes property itself. So they have a reason to explore it and see what's there, and that's what we're going to do with this program. We're going to drill holes actually with 3 main targets here, which is pretty interesting. We still have 3 targets to go for at depth. The first one is the mineralized body that we've already defined at shallow levels. We can drill that underneath. It's still open at depth, still going down. One of our deeper intervals is actually the highest grade interval I mentioned previously. That was one of our deepest intercepts so far. So the mineralization is still there, open at depth. That's one target. A second target is that same mineralized body on the northeast side of that fault that we mentioned. That mineralized body we feel has been down dropped, so that the entire piece of it that was cut off should still be present there at depth on the other side of the fault. So that's a second target. Although it's the same mineralized body, it's a separate target. It's been offset from it. And the third target is that the zone we defined in the surface sampling that I mentioned at the very northeastern portion of the vein system. You can see in figure 1, It's shown there as surface sampling. A very narrow vein shows higher grades. We think there's potential for another mineralized body at depth under that. And all these can be drilled much more easily and with better intersect angles from Vizsla Silver's ground. So that's the goal you see in Figure 2 also, that shows those various drill holes that are planned in this next program.
Well, thanks for those comments, Craig. Boy, there's a lot for investors to be excited about, and the relationship with Vizsla Silver is one of a kind. Elena, back to you. My last question is for you. Many investors I talk to inquire about the state of the relationship with Vizsla Silver. Can you please comment on that?
Yes, thank you, Jason. So the relationship with Vizsla Silver started a little bit more than a year ago when they became a strategic investor, took about 20% of our company, and we established this technical committee, and it has been the utmost pleasure to work with the Vizsla team, including Mike Connor, their CEO, Jesus Villador, their VPX. They've been great partners. I can't think of a better strategic partner than these guys. And we are all excited about the prospects of this upcoming drilling campaign deeper down, and it's everybody's wish that we're gonna discover another mineralized shoot on the east side of the fault. It is our hope that we're gonna continue to see some of these bonanza grades that we have seen as we drill deeper. And as Craig said, Vizsla has a right of first refusal on the assets, and I think that's where this, if there's a large discovery, that's where the asset rightly belongs, and we're hopefully be selling it to them, and we certainly, if we did that, would like to or consider very strongly to get some of their stock, because they're doing an amazing job in the Panuco district, and we feel very confident in their management team and their prospects.
Thanks, Craig and Elaine. That answers my questions, but in summary, maybe just some final thoughts from Craig or yourself, Elaine, on our other two compelling projects, Hot Breccia and Los Pavitos, and then we'll wrap it up.
I wanted to mention briefly both of those projects. Los Pavitos, as everyone's pretty much aware, we drilled a small, very first drill program at the project. And this, unlike Palos Verdes, is a very large-scale project, nearly 5,300 hectares. And there's at least 5 very, kilometer-scale structural targets there. And we drilled just under 2,400 meters last year in that first program, had very good results, particularly at 2 of those targets. And, based on that work, we think it's be much more cost effective for us, instead of continuing to drill these large scale targets, is to do some geophysics, probably a drone-based magnetometer survey and potential follow-up ground EM or IP survey to narrow down our targets along discrete portions of these structural zones. And based on the drilling we did, we think we'll be able to do that, and we can cover much larger areas, focus the drilling down to smaller areas, and have be drilling our first pass drilling on the best portions of those structural zones. And at Hot Breccia, we were delayed a little bit last year with our permitting. It's pretty much done right now. We did a ZTEM survey, which is an airborne electromagnetic survey. Last year, we've had geophysicists working on interpretation of that over the last couple of months, and we're starting to get the data coming in. And I think it was good we had a delay in the permit, because now we can make sure we include all sites based on this, on the geophysics in this permitting. And we think we'll have that permit submitted this month in February, and hopefully we'll have it in hand by February to March, and be ready for drilling out there in the second quarter.
As Chairman Elaine, could you please finalize our call with some last comments?
Yes, so I want to thank all of the viewers. I hope they found this discussion informative. In today's market environment, investors are lucky. When I started in this business in '87, there was no internet, there was no fax machine, but now they have access to management at the exact time that a news release is coming out. So thank you for watching, and feel free to contact Jason with any questions that you might have. And if he doesn't have the answer, he'll gladly put Craig and or I on a call with you guys. Thank you very much.